I'll be the house too, but baby, you're stuck to me like glue.
Hey everyone, how's it going? This is episode 4, and whether or not you're new or coming back in, I really appreciate you listening to these episodes. It really means a lot to me. Today's going to be a little bit different. I am in a particular kind of mood today after seeing my dad. That kind of made me want to take a step back and I guess show a moment of gratitude and have a little bit of hope, remind us to have hope for the future. I was supposed to see my parents today. And, I've been living in this new condo for about almost 5 months. And my mom and dad live about 35 miles away, not very far. They both have cars. And my mom once again told me she wasn't going to be able to make it. And in my head, I've slowly started to take it personal. I'm like, there's no way that she's doing these other things, aside from being sick and not able to make it. Like my 91-year-old grandma made it for my birthday party. My dad, who I hardly ever see, except for with retirement now, it's a little bit different, but kind of usually still takes a special occasion. They were able to come over. My dad came over twice, and my mom just hasn't been able to make it due to health problems. One day it could be the flu. The next could be stomach problems. The next day it'll be Meniere's. The next day it'll be arthritis. It's just kind of different every time. And I was taking it personal for a while, thinking maybe as badly as I wanted her to see what I've worked hard for, I thought was as badly as she didn't want to come. I don't know if it was necessarily rational thinking or not. It was more just me trying to understand, how could someone be permanently sick their entire life? My whole life, really, of, the 34 years I've been alive, of every friend I've had, I've never had anybody in my life that has ever had family that have had illnesses like my family does. And so I think that kind of made me always feel like, well, maybe my family in particular is doing or not doing something that other families are or aren't. I went to the dentist maybe 6 months ago with my mom. I took off work and took her to her appointment because she couldn't drive. And there was this 91-year-old woman who drove herself in her car, full makeup, all stylish, and took herself to her dentist appointment. And I looked at her like she was a marvel. I was like, how is this woman not only putting herself together well, but driving, let alone going to her appointment? What's going on with my family that's not something that they can do? And so sometimes it really gets to me. I think my family is all kind of similar to each other. I think, for the first couple of years after my grandma retired, maybe 20, 25 years ago, she joined some clubs and she went out and traveled a little bit. But for the most part, after my grandpa died when I was 8, she just kind of wanted to stay home and kind of be by herself. But she was never really by herself because she was helping out my aunt who is permanently disabled. And before she became permanently disabled, she had an underactive immune system and basically a cold could plague her. She ended up with a back injury that nearly destroyed her. And she waited too long to get surgery for her back. When she had a heart attack, her first heart attack, she's had 5 since. And the doctors tell her she's a liability and she can't get back surgery and she will have to be in this debilitating bedridden pain for the rest of her life. And she is in bed pretty much every day since that accident probably happened close to 15 years ago. And, sometimes she'll struggle to go to the doctor appointment or, struggle to stand up in a couch or try to put on a brave face for the family if there's a special occasion going on. But for the most part, her life is in front of a TV or in front of a book. So all 3 women in my life and my family they're struggling. They're struggling. And then I see my dad who... he puts on a brave face, and I think I'm just amazed that he made it through retirement. It's a miracle, really. He's got gout and high blood pressure and only one good eye. And I was trying to help him look up some settings on Facebook Marketplace to help him list his car. It's got a broken drive shaft and he's selling it for $2,000. He's basically giving it away. And I'm looking at the settings on the phone. And he's like, where are the messages from people? And I'm thinking how do I word this? You can't see the messages because your screen is at 80% and you're missing the entire detail on the phone because you can only see like a couple texts at a time because his eyesight is so bad. So like it's blown up so much that you can't see the whole screen. And I don't know why you can't like move the screen around to see other parts of the screen, but it doesn't do that on his phone. And I feel like I'm taking this moment to appreciate my family and my friends and the people that are in my life because they truly are doing what they can. And he helped me build some shelves that I bought the last time I saw him, and we were putting them together. And I couldn't have done it without him. I used to have like handy friends that would help me with things, and I don't anymore. And people are like, oh, just go pay $200 and have someone like build a shelf for you. And I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. I can't do that. And so this is something that kind of always felt incomplete in my place. And we were able to put it up, and it's nice, and I'm grateful. And I just kind of looked at my dad and I see that he doesn't have the stress anymore because of work. But my mom relies on him for everything, 100% all the time, for the driving, for the groceries, for the bills paying. I mean, I hate to say this, but like every aspect of my mom's life, my dad pretty much takes care of for her because she's not really able to do that for herself. And I see the pressure that puts on him. Sometimes I look at him and I'm just like, damn, like, how does he do it? Like he's worked his whole life for someone else. And my dad's an incredible guy. He's got his flaws for sure, like everybody does. But my dad has never cheated. My dad firmly believes in marriage and stayed with my mom for the last, 30, almost 40 years. And he has taken care of a very sick woman my entire life. And has come home after an 80-hour work week and doing all the groceries, paying all the bills, taking care of all the responsibilities. And I just wish he got a break. I wish my family got a break and could take a vacation. And I wish there was like an on and off switch where they could just not be in pain for some time and get to enjoy life. And I'll be honest, it gets to me sometimes. And I have, when I get stressed or when I get really concerned, I have this tendency of trying to like overcompensate, and I'll try to like clean the whole house and, try to help out. And, sometimes they accept it, sometimes they don't. And other times I'll like clear my schedule or take off work. And then they're like, oh, I'm too sick. I just need to lay in bed. And it's a struggle for a lot of people right now. I didn't hear back from this guy that I was kind of friends with about a year ago. And he was kind of encouraging me to start a podcast when we met because he has one himself. And, I saw him maybe 8 months ago or something, and he invited me to like a work event. We had a really good time. And, I sent him a couple messages in that 8 months and I never got a single response. And I'm just talking about the friend level, by the way. And so I kind of just like gave up like talking to him, and I was like, I don't understand. I got kind of ticked. I'm like, what is it with people? Why do they just ignore you? Like, why are they reading your messages and they just ignore you? Why do you sell something on eBay or Facebook Marketplace and people ask like, is this available? And then they never respond to you again. Like, why do people do these things? It absolutely unnerves me when you see that little icon that they've read read your message. Like, that they saw the message and they never respond. I mean, it's I don't know what 90% of the population does that, and I don't, and I can't conceive of it. I don't understand it. I don't know what that even means, but yeah, it drives me crazy. So a couple days ago, I sent a picture of this sticker of this DJ from this event that he took me to. And I was like, hey, thinking of you, like, funny, I see this sticker all the time now. And he finally reached out. And he basically said, my dad died about 6 months ago. And I was like, oh my God, because I had known like 2 years prior, his mom died, and his whole family moved into the house with his dad to kind of support him and give him some care and love after his wife passed. And 2 years later, he died. This was obviously very hard for him. And I told him, I was like, oh my God, like this makes sense why I haven't heard from you. And I felt awful for him. He said it kind of tore his family apart for a while, and then eventually they kind of reconnected and got back together. And he said shortly after his dad died, he lost his main source of income. He lost his job. And I'm like, man, what a tragedy. Like I think his family all kind of really relied on the unit as a whole. And so when that unit fell apart, they all kind of like fell apart. And then, I think living with his dad like kind of helped him financially. And then, he lost his job. And that was hard to hear, but I appreciated knowing what happened. And so now I, need to respond back and try to figure out how I can be there for him as a person, as an acquaintance, like how I can step in and do my part to just kind of try to cheer him up or get him outside of that environment for a while, because it was a tough place for him. And I think I'm saying all this because I really want to send a very sincere and heartfelt, like mental cyber hug and a kiss on the cheek to every single one of you, like a bear hug. Imagine me wrapping my arms around you and squeezing so tightly. And I hope half of you cry. I hope you let it all out, whatever you're going through. Because it's tough out there right now. There's a lot of stuff that we're seeing in the media, social media, news. Regardless if it's true or not, it's what people are being fed. It's what people are hearing. It's what they're seeing. And it's affecting many people's lives. And I wish it didn't have to be this way. In my 20s, I was just, I don't know if it was just I didn't have enough life experience then, or I hadn't gone through some of my traumas at that point. I still wasn't completely jaded. And I would join all these activist groups and I would do volunteer work and I would help different people out. And I remember thinking like, there's hope, there's hope, there's hope. Anything's possible, anything's possible. Whatever you want, you can dump that guy and be with who you really want because that's who you really want. Like, go for it. And, as I got older, I guess I started seeing more of life in the world. I think the 30s is really, I don't know what 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s is like, but my God, are they all so vastly different from each other? Because 30s is rough, man. 30s is, it's like, yeah, you're still learning things, but you just know more at this point. And it's not always better to know things because, well, yeah, it's good to know things, but what am I trying to say? You don't know if you can do anything about it. Sometimes you can't do anything about it. And it's hard when you don't have the type of support system that you need. And I truly, truly mean this. I really want to give every single one of you a big hug right now. And imagine me looking you in the face and saying, I'm so sorry for the pain that you are dragging every single day. This daily grind that you're in just to survive. The pressures that you feel to be there for your family and your friends. The chaos that you're seeing every day. Just being alive. It's rough. And I don't think anybody necessarily has it easy. I personally do believe that there are different degrees or there's a spectrum of pain. I think the more you know, the better in theory you can handle it, but it doesn't mean that it's any less painful. I was working a couple months ago and it was kind of a stressful environment. In my job, you oftentimes have to illegally park with your hazards on the side of the road, put your medical device sign out, which anyone could buy online. So it's like, no one would actually know if I'm legit or not. I could just hope and pray, grab my medical supplies and literally run up. This was in Culver City or Santa Monica or something. And I had to just book it. And it was the first time I had been there before. And security was like, it's on the 6th floor. And I went to the 6th floor and they're like, no, it's on the 8th floor. And so then I went, up and down trying to find where I was supposed to go. I finally get to the place. I'm panting and I'm trying to catch my breath. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm illegally parked. Is this what you were looking for? And she's like, can I offer you a water? Are you okay? Do you want a soda or something? She's like, that must have been so traumatic for you. I know this area is really bad. Do you need a moment to recover from your trauma? And I was very, very taken back when she said that. And I'm thinking yeah, it's stressful to look for parking and leave your car unattended in a spot where, a ticket costs more than you make in a day. And she's calling it traumatic. And I told her oh man, if that was trauma in my life, I would be having a pretty great life. I appreciate you saying that. It's stressful, looking for parking, but I'm okay. I just don't want to get a ticket. And she kept saying the word trauma, this was traumatic. And she was like, I know that would be traumatic for me. And I was just frustrated when she said that. Cause I'm I don't know if this is you being figuratively speaking or if this is trauma for some people. I guess if you got your car towed and you were paycheck to paycheck, yeah, it could be potentially traumatic. But I say that because sometimes I could sound not very empathetic and I don't mean to. But when people sometimes tell me what's going on in their life, I'm like, oh my God, at least you haven't been robbed at gunpoint. Sometimes I hear these stories. Oh, I just had another fight with my mom but I live with her and I'm not going to do anything about it. And, I don't want to live here, but, the world's expensive. So I'm just going to keep doing this job. And and that was her idea of trauma. And I'm thinking when I couldn't deal with my mom, I would sleep in the parking lot of the Forum in between shifts because I couldn't go home. Or I would sleep on the couch of some guy that would have been flirting with me at the time, who I thought was extremely gross and felt like my skin was crawling. And I didn't want to be there, but it was better to be in Hollywood, 20 minutes away from work, so I could catch up on sleep when I was working 16 hours a day, then go back home for a couple hours and even be in the presence of my mom. and I would work 3 jobs until I could afford to move out on my own. And I'm thinking, man, times have changed. If, a couple of bickering fights and you're like, oh, I'll just like deal with it. Like there is a difference and there is a degree to like what you do and how difficult life is based off of your circumstances. And I think I went off a topic a little bit, but my point is it's not really easy for anybody. And it's hard when you don't have a lot of support. I have a friend who I would think of the friends that I have. I probably have one friend that I feel like I could really talk to about some things. But the caveat is he's in love with me. And yes, I could talk to him maybe about like 80% of things, but like I can't really talk to him as a guy friend about other guys because it's upsetting for him. And sometimes I feel like I want to call him up and tell him I need to rant or just to like, blow off some steam because I need to just like say how I feel as opposed to just like talking to my cat about it when I get home. And sometimes my cat is like, I want peace. Like, don't be upset. But I feel like I can't because he has lived with his parents since I've known him, which is over a decade. And he told me recently that he gave up his life, any prospect of dating or a better job or a better future, a family. He gave up everything to take care of his parents who can't and don't want to take care of themselves. One can't, and I think the other one just kind of like expects it or doesn't really think of her son as giving up his life to take care of them. And he's been going back and forth with all these doctors when his dad found out, his dad has Parkinson's. And then he found out that his dad's heart monitor just wasn't turned on for 20 years, which is like wild to even think about. And when he would go into the hospitals, it's like, it's for the last few months, it's been like, oh, they made him worse, or, oh, they sent him to this place and then they didn't do anything about it. And then they sent him back. And then those people didn't do anything. And he's been just like trying to manage all of his family problems. And meanwhile, he basically said, like, I'm watching doctors kill my dad. No one's actually fully present or caring about what's going on with my dad. And every time he sees somebody, he's getting worse. And they're kind of just shoving him like, oh, well, that's not our specialty. Move him over here. Oh, they say nothing's wrong. Move him over here. And it's just been this back and forth for him for several months. And I think it's a struggle for him to live on his own. And he does have a brother, but he says that his brother has his wife and kids and knows that his brother needs to focus on that. So he's taken it upon himself to be the one that supports his family. And I get frustrated and I'm like, okay, but like, there's got to be another way. Like, you can't actually tell me that you have been okay with giving up your life just so that your parents can live. And he's like, no, but I have to. Who else is going to do it? He's like, my parents have been there for me, so I'm going to do it. And that's a lot to deal with. And so I don't feel like I can talk to him sometimes because I'm like, well, why am I going to talk about how I feel when you've got enough on your plate to deal with? And I think in some of my other friendships, I've got a friend that I'm pretty close to, but he recently got married and had a kid. And his wife doesn't really want me to be friends with him. And so our friendship we're not able to really talk so much like we used to. And I had another friend who was my friend, but again, his girlfriend didn't like me. So she wasn't jealous of me. She just knew that her boyfriend liked me. She wasn't worried about me, but she didn't like seeing him like me. And I'm like, oh, that's something that's not my fault, but it ended up being where like, yeah, I just told him, I said like, hey, like out of respect to what you're trying to build with this woman, like I probably shouldn't be in each other's lives if these fights are going to keep happening. So, I kind of stepped away from that friendship. So there's different dynamics that I have with different friends. And, there really isn't somebody that I could just be like, this is all going on. Like, I got to talk to someone about it. It's like, okay, I could talk to this person about these types of conversations, this person about these surface level things. And I think maybe some of you might feel that way too. And I think this is a moment to bring up therapy for people. Before this girl recently stopped being friends with me, her opener was kind of like, girl, you should talk to your therapist. And, she kind of worded it like that. But she meant it as an insult. I didn't take it as an insult, but she meant it to be an insult. And I was pretty, I guess the word would be like disheartened. I was upset that someone would throw therapy up in my face and tell me that instead of like going to a friend to like talk about something, that she wanted me to go to therapy because I apparently had some problems. And that was her opinion. I know I said this in like another episode that I was talking to my other friend about it. So like, my other friends one of my friends didn't think it was a big deal. The other one was like, yeah, you should like not ever talk to friends about like serious, deep things. But I thought it was sad that, this was a young girl in a modern day world where like therapy is like accepted now and people go. But yet this girl was like adamantly like she would not go to therapy for herself. She thought that going to therapy was a sign of weakness and that you only go to therapy if you have extreme traumas. But she didn't really see that people could go to therapy to talk things out or to better yourself. And I think that part maybe wasn't totally explained to her, because I tried to get her to go to therapy and she was like, no, I'll just read my tarot cards and ask AI what the card means, and then I'll internalize it and then I'll feel better. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever works. Ooh. So I tried to like not be mean. It's just frustrating people sometimes. So I do see a therapist once a week, and I tell her this all the time, like a broken record, that it's not necessarily that I need to talk to her because I'm trying to fix things in my life. It's me talking to her sometimes or a lot of the times, because I don't have anyone else to talk to about these things that are heavy, that are intense, and that I don't really have a lot of people in my life that I could just say like, hey, this is what's going on. Can I talk? And I didn't really have that problem in my 20s because I was married and I would come home every night and I would have somebody there. I also had a bunch of roommates in different places that I lived, and there was always somebody to talk to. But for the last couple of years, I've been living on my own. My God, I do love being alone so much, maybe a little too much most of the time. But there's a lot of times where I wish that I had another partner that I could talk to about things, or a best friend that I could call, and when things are rough. But the way I internalize it is, Evelyn, you know that other people are struggling with other things. Don't just add one more thing to their plate. They want to help you. They want to be there for you just to listen. But how can you possibly say like how you feel when they're dealing with what they're dealing with? And so I'm like, okay, just don't say anything and hang out with your cat and try to watch some TV or read a book or clean the house. And I just kind of dismiss how I feel. And I think that's not good. One thing I've noticed about myself over the last couple of years is that when I was in my 20s, as I said in another episode, the first one, I was very codependent. I didn't have a lot of experience, and I really leaned on my friends and partner I had at the time to, like, I would pay my ex-husband, buy him $500 shoes if he would like help me take my driver's ed test, because at the time I had so much anxiety and felt like I had so much on my plate that I couldn't do it myself. I paid him a lot of times to help me with things that I thought were too overwhelming to deal with at the time. And so in a way, I had dreamed of independence when I was younger because I didn't think I was capable of it. I thought I was so like crippled by how I grew up, and I didn't think that I could stand on my own 2 feet and have a backbone. I did on the inside of my head, like internally I did, but saying things out loud or voicing my opinion, that was just not supported in the environment that I was in, especially when I was on a lot of medication. So I dreamed of girls that were, not necessarily all single, but like single and driven and girl boss type of attitude, and girls that would like live on their own and take care of business and, work towards these goals, and they could just take care of themselves. And I wasn't jealous of that, but I was envious of that because it was just something foreign to me. It was like, I didn't know how they got there. And so I dreamed of a world where I'm like, how can I, have a partner, but also be independent, where I can lean on him less and lean on myself more. Well, the funny thing about what you wish for is, we ended up separating, and I ended up being forced to be extremely independent. And I had to learn the hard way. And there were a lot of trials and tribulations and horrible, 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 horrible things that happened along the way. And I learned on my own. And sometimes I was a little too on my own in very dangerous situations, and I just had to deal with it by myself. There was a point where when I didn't have my phone and I was robbed and I couldn't leave my house because, my keys were robbed, literally everything was taken. So if I wanted to be safe and keep my cat inside, I couldn't leave because I could go out, but I wouldn't be able to lock the door. And I had eyes on me in the neighborhood. It was safer for me to just stay put. That had its own problem. But the only way some people in my life that, were my friends knew where I was is they were like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. And so they stopped by my house, and I'm like, oh my God, my friends. There were 2 people that did that, and I was really grateful to them. And they're like, what the fuck, Evelyn? I'm like, I don't have a phone. I can't contact you. All of this happened. And they're like, what the fuck? And so that's how I was kind of able to build my network again and get a phone and get back on my feet and basically have people around so that other people didn't know that I wasn't alone. It was like a whole thing. But anyways, what I'm saying is I had to learn to be independent. But what I noticed along the way was, I've noticed this probably in the last couple months, people say you wouldn't be who you are today if not for who you were in your past. And I am grateful that I have my condo and that I work for myself that I don't technically have a boss. I don't have colleagues I have to deal with. I can work 12 hours a day. I could work 5 hours a day. I could work 1 hour a day. Technically, I don't have to like tell someone that I'm going to be off for a couple hours and that, oh, well, we need you at, this place. So don't take off. And sorry, if you have a doctor's appointment, you're going to have to skip it because we need you here at work. That kind of pressure I felt at my corporate jobs. And I don't have that now. It's great. I'm constantly grateful all the time. I have like a doctor's appointment or helping family with their appointments. And I'm like, oh my God, like I can go. Or, someone called me and I can actually like talk to them on the phone, or I could wait on hold for this thing that is, this insurance or whatever, this call I have to take, something in my personal life. And it's during work hours and I'm able to make the call. Like, oh, what a relief. It's an amazing feeling. It's like you don't know until you know, right? I noticed within myself the last couple months, in order to create this independence, and it's not like I like trained myself to do it. It's just kind of like what happened. I became so independent that the opposite happened. I don't want to socialize. I don't want to go out. I don't want to make friends. I want to go hiking alone. I want to eat alone. I want to go watch movies alone. I want to hike alone. I think I said that. I want to bike ride alone. I want to do everything alone. And if I want to get something done, it's easier for me to just do it myself than to ask somebody else. That also happens. And so I put up this huge wall that I didn't even know I had put up. And I think it makes people kind of, it's almost like impossible to take that guard down for me. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. But I have this way about me that I've put up this kind of shell. And I think sometimes I can be kind of an asshole. I asked my friends and they're like, no, you're not an asshole. I was like, are you sure? Because like there must be like really, really horrible human beings out there if you guys are not thinking I'm an asshole right now, because I feel like I'm sounding like an asshole. But I'm not able to let anybody in dating wise. I think that's just because there hasn't been anybody I was interested in dating. Also, I don't get asked out. Like people don't like approach me. My friends have told me it's like, oh, you're too like successful and intimidating. And so they don't know how to, I'm like, really? Really? I'm like, well, then I wouldn't want those guys anyways that don't feel like they can't approach me and come up to me. I'm like, who are these women that are scaring these guys away and intimidating them so much that like they're ruining it for all other women? It's like really unfortunate. Can those women please stop? But, my therapist was like, it's 2026. Why don't you go ask them out? And I'm like, fine. And then I go out and I'm like, wow, I am not interested in anybody I see ever. Not even a little bit. And then I think a couple times that I've tried, I've just put up these like giant walls where like, I don't think people can get in. I'm also a very like passionate and lovey-dovey person. So like when I fall for someone or when I like someone, like I'm all in, and I'm all in from the very beginning. And it's not like a love bombing, like that all in doesn't stop. And I think that's the flaw of mine that I have when it comes to dating, is that like I fall quickly. So if like a guy is not in that spot to also fall or to actually want a commitment or to build a relationship, like, yeah, no, they're like, whoa. And then they run away. They run away like figuratively. They don't like run away. It's just a lot going on for a lot of people. And I just want to say that I'm here for you guys. I just gave my nicotine vape to a neighbor. He's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, man, like, it's not going to help. And I told him, I was like, I'm going to go in a hole. Like, I'm not going to talk to people for a couple of days, because when I withdraw from nicotine, it's like a monster comes out and I'm snappy and I'm angry and the whole world is a horrible place. And it's like that until, a week and a half. But the first week is really tough. I had a difficult time quitting for the last couple months because life has been so goddamn stressful. And when I did quit, it's like I needed something to relax. And so when I work, I go, and I come home, clean, cook, clean again, like do the Sebastian cat thing, and then go do this, and now you gotta go run these errands, and it just never stops. And nicotine for me has always been a way to, Evelyn, take one fucking second out of your day and relax. But I know that deep breath exercises and meditation and yoga and Pilates and running and biking and hiking, that's all what I need to be reminded to do, and go and do it. And that is the path that I am going to go on again now that I don't have my nicotine. But it's hard when you don't have the support or the vice to be able to kind of cope and deal with that. And so I'm saying this because you're not alone. It's hard to live. It's hard. And I dreamed of an independent life for so long that I have it now. And I say to myself constantly, was it worth it? Is it worth it to be in this place where I'm safe and I'm quiet and people aren't banging above me when they're having parties at 5 a.m? And when I ask them if they can be quiet, they stomp on the ground and start screaming. And just because they're like mad that I asked them to be quiet, like I am so grateful that I am in another place that is quiet. I really value that a lot. But I look around and I'm like, universe, I'm God, I'm Evelyn, I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful for what I have. But what is the point of working for these successes and achievements if you don't have anybody to share it with? That's my personal issue that I deal with, is that above riches, above condos and trying to build an empire for myself and having certain jobs or certain whatever in life, like what I value more than anything in the world is having like a partnership, a healthy, stable partnership with somebody, a companion who is also my lover, who is also my lover, who is my companion. Same person, somebody that I can come home to, someone to share a space with under one roof, someone to support each other, talk about life with each other, to make love to take strolls with and have conversations where you're not just like talking to yourself every day. And I know it exists because I've had a version of that in the past. But I called my grandma up the other day, like crying for like 2 hours. And I was like, Grandma, that is not the world we live in anymore. Statistics say 50% of people cheat. People aren't dating. People aren't getting married anymore. They don't want to have kids. That we're joining this individualistic nation where people just live for themselves and don't have like communities and families anymore or relationships. And I just went on this like spiral thinking like the world was doomed and kind of had to be talked down a figurative ledge. And especially with my therapist, every single month is reminding me that, yes, we're living in a new age, but I have to remind myself, if you are out there, then there are others out there like you that want similar things that you want. That chivalry is not dead. That gentlemen do still exist. That you can find a partner who wants to make love and have sex. That is one of my hookups. Why is it so hard for me to say? Hookups? What am I trying to say? Oh my gosh. I've been so tired and so exhausted. I could not do much this weekend because I think I worked like 80 hours this week and I'm like dead inside. And I have this commitment to continue to do these podcasts. And I'm like, how am I going to talk to everybody when I can hardly think? I can hardly keep my eyes open. I can hardly, like, how can I be vulnerable and express my feelings and what I'm going through? How am I going to have it be on a positive note? How's it going to be lighthearted? And I think I just wanted to express some things that I know that others are dealing with too. And that there is hope, even if hope is the only thing that we have. And it's unfortunate that hope isn't guaranteed. You can't hope that certain outcomes are going to happen for you. And I think that's the part that I've been getting stuck on. Like, yeah, you can be positive, but like you don't know what the future is going to hold. You don't know what it's going to look like. And my therapist reminds me, yeah, you don't know what it's going to look like. But just as much as you don't know what the future is going to hold, doesn't mean that it can't hold something great too. As much room as there is for a negative outlook is as much room as there is room for good things to happen too. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, if you're down or you're having a bad day or you're being negative or a cynic, that means you're only going to come across cynics and grumpy people and all blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I think the universe does have a way of lifting you back up when you are upset. It doesn't happen all the time, but there are little moments that you can hold on to. And I think hindsight really is 20/20. And when I get upset and not hopeful for the future, I think about what life was like before today, before yesterday. What was life like 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? And you're learning and you're growing. And there are things that you know now that you didn't know before. And that's beautiful. And that in and of itself is hope. That life will happen and it will keep happening, but you will learn things along the way. I'll close with this. When I was on medication for almost 8 years, I thought there was no way out. I thought that I was going to stay chronically depressed and anxious my whole life. I thought I was going to be dependent my whole life. That was the medication talking. That was my severe depression staying in something that wasn't working for me and coping with a lot of cannabis. I couldn't think that way at the time. In my head, that wasn't the issue. I could not get out of my own head. And yeah, divorce sucked. Withdrawing from medication that you've been on for almost a decade sucked. Withdrawing from your biggest vice that kept you going sucked. Coming off of cannabis was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. With nicotine, it's like, yeah, you should be alone for the next 2 weeks because a monster is going to come out of you and you don't want anyone to see that because they don't deserve that and you're going through your own personal withdrawals. But with cannabis, it was like, oh no, I think I'm going to die. I think this is the end of life as I know it right here. But I truly, for the entire 20s, from 21 years old to 30 years old, I knew and in my heart, and I believed that I would never get better, that I would be in bed, sad, crying all the time. And that the few moments of happiness that I would have, I would be like over the top and it would seem like mania because I didn't get to go out much because I was so fucking depressed all the time. I did not see a light at the end of the tunnel. And everything I mentioned that happened after that, it does suck. But if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have known that the medication was making me ill and was slowly killing me. I wouldn't have known that I could become independent, even if it's incredibly exhausting and stressful, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I wouldn't have been able to appreciate the little moments. Truly looking in my condo, and even though I'm in downtown, it's quiet. My neighbors are respectful of each other. To be safe, to lock the door and know that my window is not going to be broken when I come home. To be safe and know that I can go to bed at night and I'm not going to have somebody on top of me, drugging me and raping me. Like I am safe. That is such a beautiful thing. And it is so hard to keep going. And you might not feel like you have anyone. You don't have anyone right this second, but you will find someone. Well, how? How do you know? We got to trust the process. And all of us have to deal with that. We really don't know what the future holds. But as much as the unknown can be scary, it can be beautiful and pleasant too. So we at least, if we have the power and the emotion to think of something negative, we can also try to be positive about it too. I just want to say thank you for listening to this episode today. I really, again, every single one of us is going through something, either with ourselves or with somebody that we love dearly. And I hope and pray that if there is somebody in your life that you absolutely love and adore, tell them, hold them, kiss them, hug them. Tell them that they are worthy and that you are grateful for them in your life. Tell them that you are grateful and that you love them, really, whatever that looks like for you. Because we don't know what tomorrow will bring. All we can do is learn from our past mistakes. And I really hope that every single one of you tonight can go home and be safe and feel loved. And if you're in a place where you don't feel that way, I hope you can dream peacefully tonight knowing that it can get better. Reach out, ask for help, ask for support. There are resources out there. Let's try to work together as a team and as a community to be better for ourselves and the people around us and not take our baggage to other people. If you are struggling, do not project that on other people. Ask for help when you need it, but we're all going through something. So we just got to be as good as we can to ourselves and to other people and try to show ourselves some grace and compassion because I truly do believe you are doing the best that you can. And you might not be able to do any more than you are already doing. And you might be up at your nose in chaos and headaches and struggles and insecurities, but it does get better. It can get better. It can get better. I should say that. It doesn't always get better, but it can get better if you want it to get better. I believe in you and I have hope. I have hope for you. I have hope for me. I have hope for your loved ones. And I think as a whole, as we are all connected in some crazy way, all of us, people that are psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists and anxious attachments and avoidance and cynical people and positive people and, manic people, all these types of different people in the world, somehow we are all still connected, believe it or not. And I hope that when you go to your job, to your home, even if you're coming home by yourself, hug yourself, hug your pet, hug your friend, hug your coworker, hug your boss, if you feel like you can hug your boss and say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to work. Thank you, Mom, for being there for me when you can. Thank you, sister, for letting me talk to you and vent. Thank you, friend, for being in my life, whatever that is for you. It does get better. It can get better. The world has the capacity of getting better. And I believe in you. You're not alone. You're not. And if you know somebody that's struggling right now, or even yourself, show yourself some love. Show your loved one some love. A simple text message, a card, a text, an email, a letter. Take them to coffee. Go on a walk with them. You really don't have to go over the top. You could do something free if you're on a budget. Anything. Thanks for being here and sharing this space with me. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, it's your turn. Let's do this. I know how to love, 'cause in my dreams I was taught by you. I know how to love, 'cause in my dreams I was taught by you. me. Maybe you will see, just temporarily fall